Why are you running?
Okay. Well, I think there's a couple tipping points that got me into the race. I'm sure you're not interested in that, but a couple of trips I went on at the end of last year really provided some contrast. My son and I went on a bicycle trip to Italy and Switzerland last year. We rode a couple hundred miles. And it kind of reminded me about how the way the U.S. used to be. The cities were clean, they were safe, and so forth. It's so unlike the U.S. right now, and that was a motivating factor. The second trip I went on was a humanitarian trip to Cuba in December. And that is a great reference point for what happens if we continue on with our trajectory of debt and lack of opportunity for people. So those were a couple of the items. What I think really is driving me is the debt issue, as I mentioned. It is criminal what we are doing to our younger generations with this level of debt and spending. The reason that we are all struggling with inflation is simply because we've destroyed the value of our U.S. dollar.
Right. That's your something.
Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick?
Yeah, I have 5 ideas. So one just involves general tax reform. There are hundreds of billions of dollars of greasy, nasty, abusive loopholes out there that benefit some of our wealthiest citizens that could be closed. I know that because I ran a national tax practice. Adopting pay-as-you-go spending policies similar to what happened under the Clinton administration. Consideration to adopting something like the penny plan, which reduces spending by 1% per year with the exception of Social Security and Medicare. Using more private contractors, just as SpaceX has replaced NASA. And then look at changing our incentives to have out-of-wedlock childbirth. Right now we have 40% of children that are born out of wedlock, where dear old dad is nowhere found, and we have tax incentives that encourage that. So, 5 ideas off the top of my head. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have several different ideas. Initially, I think we need to begin with congressional term limits because we have so many politicians that don't have the balls to deal with this particular issue. Secondly, we need to take away some of the incentives to employers hiring. So, for example, we need to penalize financially employers that are hiring these illegal aliens, which is something they thought about but did not do. We need to remove some of the welfare incentives that Max had talked about. We also need to end tax-exempt status for a number of these NGOs or nonprofits that are essentially profiting by supporting all of these illegals that have come into the country. And then obviously, President Trump says we need to have our deportations, which I agree with. Thank you.
Patrick?
Well, I have a different viewpoint. I actually like the candidates in this race, very much so. I have an issue with one individual, not one of the leading candidates that has done some very dishonorable things related to a speaking event I had at a university. But beyond that, I think it's been very collegial. I've had breakfast with Lonnie here, and we've talked issues. Max and I have collaborated on issues, so generally speaking, I like and I respect everybody in this race with the exception of the one individual I mentioned. But again, this is one of the best things I've done in my life. No kidding, because of the people that I've met, both in the campaign and on the campaign trail. Thank you.
Patel. I'm sorry, Patrick. My bad. There you go.
Thank you.
Can't read my own handwriting some days.
Let me enlighten you, though. Marijuana is essentially legal in all 50 states right now since the 2017 Farm Bill. There is a hemp derivative called Delta 8 and Delta 9 that you can buy anywhere in the United States that is just as powerful as regular marijuana.
I know I'm picking some up when I go home tonight. So
Well, you could buy it at a gas station on your way home. It's available everywhere in this town, everywhere as long as you're age 21. The only issue with that, again, if you're a driver and you've taken this, it's going to be in your system, and you could be charged with a DUI, even though you took it a few days before. So it's legal. Well, I voted for Victoria in 2 primaries and 2 generals. I would probably vote for Raju. And the reason being, he has been a victim of racism within the Republican Party in Hamilton County, in my opinion. And I think that is disgusting. So I would vote for Raju.
thank you.